welcome to our 14th From the Shack barbecue show. We hope you're enjoying the summer, even though the weather's been a bit strange over the last week or so. Now, Elky, how are you? What have you been up to?
I'm really good, mate. What have I been up to? I had a few guys over that I met through Instagram over to the shack yesterday. Lots of food, lots of booze. I did a fire-cooked Thai feast. So we were literally eating Thai food all throughout the day. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. But I'm definitely feeling it a bit now.
Let's hope you make a quick recovery, Elky. Now let's take a look at what's coming up in today's show.
Coming up, Elky shows us how to cook a cull shawarma on a rotisserie. Neal cooks a pork rib joint for the first time on his Kamado Joe Classic 2. Our special guest is barbecue legend Jon Finch. He's the co-founder of the Grillstock Festival and the Grillstock Barbecue Book. And in What's Cooking, we take a look at what you, the barbecue community, have been up to. Welcome to From the Shack.
Lots coming up. Now, Elky, have you been watching the Olympics?
No is the short answer to that. Not really had the time, to be honest. I mean, I'm working the day job, obviously, doing the barbecuing out here all the time, cooking, so not really had the time. But one thing I am looking forward to is the football season starts again soon. I'm a massive Portsmouth fan, and I can't wait to get back down there and watch them.
I think the football season is going to be great this year. Now let's take a look at what Elky's been cooking.
Hi, I'm the Smoking Elk, and this is my cull shawarma. One of my favourite dishes, and a recipe that I get asked for all the time, is my chicken shawarma. Such a good dish, so versatile. You can make a little amount, you can make a load of it, and it just goes down well at any barbecue, at any party. So I wanted to step it up a notch, and I'm going to be making a cull shawarma. Now, cull is essentially mutton. Now, this is retired sheep that are essentially going to go and meet their maker. Now, Matt from the Cornwall project takes his sheep, feeds them, puts them onto pasture, puts them into his coppice, fattens them up and gives them an extended life for 6 months, a year, whatever. And this is the end result. This goes to Philip Warren Butchers. Philip Warren Butchers work their absolute magic in the aging chambers, the salt dry aging chambers. We're left with this beautiful, stunning cull. Now this is shoulder, and what I've done with this is thinly sliced it because we're going to be putting this on the rotisserie and we're going to be spinning it over fire on the Big Joe 3. I've got the coals banked to the back, got a few firelighters on there, and we've got ourselves a nice little fire on the go, and we're going to be running it about 190 to 200 degrees Celsius. With the cull, we're going to stick a marinade on there, a nice shawarma marinade, so we're going to crack on and make that. So for the marinade, we want the zest and the juice of 2 lemons, so just take yourself a zester and don't go too far. You don't want that white pith in there, you just literally want the skin. Make sure they're unwaxed lemons as well. Now to that, we're going to go in with around about 100 ml of olive oil. It might seem like a lot, but trust me, a lot of this is going to be left behind in the marinade. So about 100 ml of olive oil. Next, we want about half a teaspoon of chili flakes. Now these are Aleppo chili flakes. They're not too spicy, but obviously add as many or as few as you want to your taste. So about half a teaspoon for me. Allspice, I'm just going to go in with about a quarter to half a teaspoon of allspice. And cinnamon, we don't want too much cinnamon in there, but we do want a little pinch, so maybe about a quarter of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Cumin, we want plenty of cumin. Lamb loves cumin, so we're going to go in with about a tablespoon of cumin. Coriander, I'm going to go in with 2 teaspoons. And a couple of teaspoons of paprika. And cardamom, again this is quite a strong spice, so again just a pinch, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of cardamom. Lastly, a couple of good pinches of pepper, maybe a teaspoon and a half of pepper. And salt, we're going to go in with a good teaspoon, maybe teaspoon and a half of salt. And we want 3 cloves of garlic in there. And that is it. Now we're just going to get this in the blender till it's nice and smooth, and then we're going to get this all over that cull shoulder. Now you can marinate it overnight. I'm hungry now, so I'm just going to get it on the shoulder. We're going to feed it on the spit, on the rotisserie, then we're going to introduce it to some fire on the Big Joe. This is going to spin for probably around about 2 hours. We're looking for an internal temperature. For lamb, I like it to be around about 60, 63 degrees. So we're looking for an internal temperature of that. I'm going to chuck some cherry wood in there for a touch of smoke. I'm already hungry. This is going to be amazing. So let's just crack on. And there it is in all its glory, my cull yaw shawarma. It looks incredible, it smells incredible. Got these lovely caramelised bits on here. The crispy bits are the best bits. So we're going to go ahead, shave this off. What I'm going to do with this, once it's shaved off, I'm probably going to stick it in the flatbread, maybe with some salad, maybe without some salad, plenty of chilli sauce and dig in. But let's slice in and see exactly how we've done, shall we? We're just going to shave it off like they do in a kebab shop. Take a nice sharp knife and just glide down there. And oh, look at that. Look at the colour on that. Glorious, juicy, full of colour, full of crispy bits. I am a happy man. This looks absolutely insane. So I'm just going to carry on carving this up. We'll have a little taste. And then we're going to take it inside, put it in some flatbreads, some salads, some chilli sauce, some mayo, whatever your poison is. But first off, let's have a cheeky little taste. The cull yaw has got so much fat running through it, cull yaw shoulder, that has remained insanely moist. I mean, my mouth is still salivating after eating that little bit. The flavours on there, Middle Eastern flavours of shawarma. That is an absolute dream. So like I said, I'm going to smash this in some flatbreads with a load of chilli sauce, a bit of mayo. Happy days.
Elky, that cook looks so good. But what's better, a cull yaw shawarma or a chicken shawarma?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, it was really tasty. If I have to choose, I don't think I can choose, to be honest. I mean, the chicken shawarma is really good. It's a real crowd pleaser. I cook it quite a lot for my friends and they love it. But then I had the cull yaw shawarma and that's equally as good. So, yeah, I'm sorry I can't choose. But let's take a look at what you've been cooking anyway on your Kamado Joe.
Welcome to Outdoor Living. Today, I'm doing two cooks. Inspired by our chat with Dan Toombs, aka the curry guy, on our last show, I'm going to have a go at making his grilled mushrooms with a figs and mozzarella stuffing. But first, I'm going to cook a pork rib joint on my Kamado Joe Classic 2. This is the first time I'm cooking this cut of pork, and it's also the first time I've seen it in my local supermarket. First off, you'll need to remove the skin from the joint. I'm no butcher, and my attempt is a bit of a hack, but it did the job. Next, create a wet rub for the cook. The ingredients you'll need are 1 tablespoon each of salt, black pepper and fresh rosemary, and a teaspoon of chili flakes. You'll also need 6 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of Worcester sauce and light soy sauce, and 4 garlic cloves roughly chopped. Add all the ingredients to a bowl and give it a good stir. Add the mixture to the bone side of the joint. Turn the joint over and slice the meat to help the wet rub penetrate the surface, and apply the rub. Set up your barbecue for indirect cooking and get the heat up to around 180 degrees C, then add the joint to the barbecue. I'm using a Thermapen dot to check the internal temperature, and I'm going to take the meat off the barbecue once it reaches an internal temperature of around 61 degrees C. After around 30 minutes of cooking time, I added additional wet rub to the joint and continued the cook. Once it hit 61 degrees C, I removed the joint and let it rest for 20 minutes. It looked great and was incredibly easy to cut into individual chops. This is a great cut of pork for a Sunday dinner. I served it with roasted new potatoes and vegetables. It was delicious, and I'll definitely barbecue this cut of pork again. Now for my second cook. Dan Toombs was a brilliant guest on our last show. This week from his Curry Guy Veggie book, I've cooked his broccoli curry, which was lovely. And now I'm going to have a go at his grilled mushrooms with a fig and mozzarella stuffing. I'm catering for 5, so for this dish, I used 5 large portobello mushrooms. I removed the stems, but kept them for the stuffing. For the marinade, we'll need a pinch of ground cumin and garam masala, 2 tablespoons of garlic and ginger paste. I bought this paste ready-made at the supermarket, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Add all the ingredients together and give it a good stir. Coat the mushrooms on the outside and then the inside, and put aside for 15 minutes. For the stuffing, you'll need 4 spring onions, 200 grams of buffalo mozzarella, 1 green chilli, finely chopped, 5 soft dried figs, and the mushroom stems. Chop all the ingredients and add them to the mushrooms. Next, set up your barbecue for indirect grilling. Once the barbecue is hot, add the mushrooms to the indirect side and cook for around 20 minutes, or when the mozzarella is nice and oozy. Remove from the barbecue and serve as a side dish or with a salad. These mushrooms are absolutely delicious. The combination of figs, spring onions and mozzarella is a real winner. It's another great dish from Dan Toombs. Now, if you're thinking about upping your barbecue game, why not give Barbecue Barn a call? They've got shops in Sidcup and Leigh-on-Sea, and they're on hand to give you some great advice on which barbecue kit's right for you.
Elky, those mushrooms were delicious. And Dan's Curry Guy veggie book is amazing.
I'll have to take your word for that, mate, but the pork on the other hand looked delicious, so fair play for that.
It was very tasty. Now, Elky, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yes, our special guest is co-founder of the Grillstock Festival and the Grillstock Barbecue Book with Ben Merrington. He's a barbecue legend. It's Jon Finch.
Jon, welcome to the show. Can I start by taking you back to 2010? What gave you the idea for creating a barbecue and music festival, and why did you call it Grillstock?
Well, I travelled around the States a bit and seen these huge barbecue events that go on over there. And there was nothing like it in the UK. But what they used to do there is guys would just gather in a car park or a field and they'd cook amongst themselves, judge the food themselves, and everyone would go home again. So we tried to find something like that here, and there wasn't anything. So we thought it'd be really good fun, but we wanted to do something that had a bit more of a kind of weekend entertainment around it. So we came up with the idea of putting a barbecue contest right in the middle of a fully fledged music festival. So it's very much, you know, people would go to Grillstock for the music as much as they would for the food. So yeah, because there wasn't anything like that, and it was something we fancied going to, we figured other people would fancy doing it too, really.
And it went well. I mean, obviously, you know, being one of the first to kind of do this kind of festival over in the UK, what kind of challenges did you face?
Well, the first one was a very quick realization that neither Ben or I had any idea how to run a festival. So we had the idea on what we wanted it to be, but then you start talking to people and they, you know, how many fence panels do you need and what portaloos and what power and what's your licensing? And we suddenly felt very out of depth. Fortunately, we were introduced to a really good guy that has produced festivals for years, and he came on board and helped us the first couple of years and showed us the ropes. And then we figured it out. We did it from then on ourselves. But the early years, it was very much the kind of the technical production side, I guess, making a safe, functional festival.
How did the legendary American barbecue guy, Ray Lamp, Dr. Barbecue, how did he come to be involved?
He just came over for the first one. He'd heard that we were doing it. He knew that there wasn't really an American barbecue scene in the UK at that time. So he just reached out on email and said, you know, I fancy coming over for this, guys. What do you think? I can give you a few pointers on how a kind of legitimate American barbecue contest would run and how you judge it and how all the rounds work. So yeah, he came over and, you know, within half an hour of meeting him, we were best mates already, and we have been really close friends with him ever since. So it's really lucky he spotted us on his radar back in the day, actually.
Jon, how competitive were those early barbecue competitions, and what sort of challenges did you set people?
So the early ones, we were finding our feet a little bit, and like I say, nobody really knew what this sort of thing was. So we struggled to get 10 barbecue teams, believe it or not. We set ourselves going to have 10 pitches, and we ended up asking family members, friends, just come along, cook. We'll supply the booze, the food, just kind of help us out in the early years. I think at its peak, we had something like 120 team applications at Grillstock. So you can see over the space of kind of 5 or 6 years, it suddenly went crazy bonkers. But we did all sorts of silly things. Like we used to give them kind of weird ingredients to throw them. So we gave them, kangaroo one year and monkfish. And you got all these guys with the smokers trying to smoke a monkfish, and it's just horrible. You know, you don't cook monkfish like that. But we pretty quickly found our feet with it and kind of dialed in what the rounds were. And we always decided not to go down the kind of KCBS route, because that's very formal and it's all behind closed doors. And it's really not something that's very exciting for members of the public to watch. So we wanted to spin it on its head and do something that was very much in front of a crowd of people. You know, the judging happened in front of a crowd. The chefs were all cooking and gathering people in. And we used to provide a lot of the meat for the contest. So if they had to turn in, you know, 1 rack of ribs or 4 bones of ribs, we'd give every team a dozen slabs of ribs and like 3 briskets and 4 pork shoulders and 6 or 7 chickens, because we wanted them to cook it and to be given out to the crowd and for everyone to kind of understand what we're doing there.
Jon, that sounds absolutely brilliant. But how have you seen the barbecue scene change since 2010?
Well, the early years, everyone was finding the feet. We were too. And then kind of a few years later, everyone was really just copying to the T what the Americans were doing. So, you know, it's all about the sweet rubs, real heavy smoke, lots of sweet sticky sauces. And that kind of went for quite a few years. And I think over the last, 3, 4, 5 years, I think the scene here has moved on a lot more, and you know, people are not as into that kind of really rich, fairly basic, sticky barbecue. It's more about finding really good ingredients, treating them with respect, some fresh ingredients in there, kind of making things from scratch rather than shop bought sauces a lot, and just gets a bit more adventurous. You know, here in the UK, we're really lucky that we have such a huge melting pot of world cuisines on our doorstep. You just have to walk around any town and there's so many different groceries and restaurants, and the chefs we've got here are amazing, doing some cool things. So I think people are taking these really great ideas and transferring them to cooking in their backyard rather than just copying what the American guys are doing. So I think we're a lot better for it. I think the kind of live fire cookery scene now is a really exciting place. There's loads of cool stuff.
You're involved with the live fire stage, aren't you, at Black Deer Festival, which has unfortunately been cancelled for the last 2 years now because of the pandemic. So what have you got in store for us for 2022?
Most of the guys that come and cook at Live Fire, so essentially this is an arena within the Black Deer Festival. So it's an Americana music festival. I think they've got 122 acts coming for next year. So it's really music focused. And that's rather, they have got a main stage, but it's not a huge one. It's really all about separating into lots of smaller areas. So you've got lots of more intimate, kind of real feeling the experience stages. And then Ben and I look after their live fire stage. So that is a stage. And we have throughout the weekend, a dozen of our favorite live fire chefs coming to do cookery demos. And they can cook on wood ovens, they can cook on barbecues, smokers, fire pits, whatever they want really. So it's a real diverse range of people. You know, we've got butchery skills and game. We've got people like Alex Pole coming, who was going to be making a knife on stage. We got Matt and T-Bone from Whittle and Flame coming to make charcoal live on stage, and then someone was going to cook with that charcoal. So it all ties in really nicely. And the whole area is kind of all about sharing different ways of doing things and different cooking techniques and different kind of ingredients. You know, you've got guys like Matt Burgess from Caravan, who's one of the most creative chefs I've ever seen. I mean, some of the flavors he brings in are incredible. So yeah, it's just a nice chilled out place. We bring Dr. Barbecue over to kind of help compare it with us. But the best place to be is behind the stage, because you've got all these chefs that they come back year after year because they love it. But we all hang around behind the stage, and we've got a few grills back there and a big walk-in fridge full of beer and ingredients. So you got all these guys, these amazing chefs, just walking into the fridge and grabbing ingredients and cooking it for each other. And it's great fun. I love it.
I'll be hitting you up for backstage tickets next year. Then.
You got it, mate.
How does the atmosphere compare with Black Deer to Grillstock?
Well, Grillstock's motto is always meat, music and mayhem. And that's kind of what we did. We had a lot of noise. It was crowded. It was very boozy. It was hectic. We had mad stuff going on all over the festival. So it's quite an intense few days. Black Deer is the opposite. It's the most laid back festival I've been to. It's gentle. It looks beautiful. It's really beautifully curated. So every area is really well thought through. It's a relaxing festival. You know, it's helped the last few years. The sun's been shining, so you can just be lying in a field with this lovely Americana music drifting over and sitting in the sun. But yeah, it's a different crowd. It's a lot more of a family festival. It's probably a lot more grown up than Grillstock was. You know, it's kind of just a nice, really nice place to go and hang out for a few days.
Now, Jon, one of my favourite books is your best-selling book, Grillstock, and my family.
Thank you.
My family absolutely love your stuffed fires wrapped in bacon recipe. Yes. And I actually did it on the show, on the Lockdown Barbecue show last year. But what are your favourite recipes in the book?
There's so many, and I've been through those recipes so many times. I guess if I go back to the recipes, I still cook a lot today. Things like the Mexican corn, I still go back to a lot. The jalapeno poppers, I go back to a lot. You know, there's just a lot of the base rubs and sauce recipes in there that I still use regularly. But I tend to dip in and out of it quite a lot, really.
You've got an Instagram account, Backyard Cook, where you post pictures of some barbecue masterclasses and lessons and stuff. What's your favourite method for cooking outdoors?
Years ago, and this is the guy actually that got me into barbecue in the first place. I had a friend, I used to have a surf shop in Devon. And when we opened, we brought a load of surfers from California over as a bit of a PR stunt. And one of the guys that came over was a real passionate cook. And he stayed in my house for a few weeks. And he said, let's go and get some meat from the butcher. And he came back with a whole rump of beef. And I just had a crappy gas grill at the time, nothing sophisticated. And I was expecting to cut it into steaks. And he didn't. He got the whole rump of beef, seasoned it with whatever he could find in my cupboard, and just put this whole lump of beef on the grill. And there was smoke coming out of it and fire shooting out the sides. And I was convinced he'd ruined this beautiful piece of meat. And I swear it was one of the nicest bits of beef I've ever had, even to this day. So that really turned the table for me. I started thinking about cooking outdoors differently, that it's not for burgers and steaks. This is actually, you can do some quite cool stuff. Anyway, he lives near an area of California called Santa Maria, the Santa Maria Valley. And they're famous for Santa Maria barbecue, where they've got the fire pit with an adjustable grill. They burn red oak logs and they cook lumps of beef, seasoned, real simple. And he sent me a Santa Maria grill, a big freestanding one. And to the day, that's always been my favorite bit of kit to cook on, because it's just so back to basics, I think. It's just a log fire, a grill, and some big pieces of meat. And I love that.
John, you also teach barbecue classes around the country. What do you enjoy, or how much do you enjoy teaching people?
I do a few different ones. So I do some virtual wood oven classes. So I'm in my garden with a wood oven and people join in from all over the world, actually. We got regulars from New York and Dubai join in for that. We all get the ingredients, then we cook along together. They're good fun. I also do a lot for Weber. So I'm one of their kind of grill masters, and we do the Barbecue Academy and Grill Academy classes. So just this weekend gone, we were over at the Game Fair and we set up a Grill Academy in part of a compound there. And we did probably 6 or 7 classes a day for about 24 people per class. So they come in and they get a mini version of a Grill Academy session. So it's half-hour sessions, all the ingredients laid out. We teach them how to cook. They go out to the grill, prep all that. And then I'm doing some quite cool stuff at the Belmont Estate in Bristol, which is real pared back. That's with Dan Cooper. We're cooking just with lump wood that's made on the estate from trees that fall in the estate. They have the kilns on site. Some big fire pits that were originally curry bowls in India that they imported. And we're cooking meat that is reared on the estate as well, and using veg from the estate's kitchen garden. So that's all really nice, because I mean, in terms of provenance of produce, the highest quality of meat, the best reared meats, the ingredients we use in the coal, the whole experience of pairing it. We don't even let people use grill tongs or spatulas. It's all using a couple of Alex Poles forks and pokers and that sort of thing. So that's pretty special in terms of an experience, I think.
A recent post from you, and let me get this right. If you do what you love for a living, then you'll never work another day in your life. For somebody that wants to maybe move into barbecue as a living and do this kind of thing as a living, what advice would you give, and how's that going for you?
Well, somebody told me that, 15 years ago, that if you find something you love for a living, then you never have to work a day in your life again. And it's so true. And I've tried really hard to do that over the years, through Grillstock, through the restaurant, through what I'm doing now. It's not easy. And, you stumble along the way. And there's times where, hand on heart, I've panicked and wished I was back in the corporate world with the safety of a monthly salary and a pension and a company car and a desk to call my own. But yeah, I mean, it's finding something that you can wake up and be passionate about every day. And if you wake up on a Monday morning excited to go to work, or if you're sitting at home on Sunday night and the Antiques Roadshow music comes on, instead of getting that daunting feeling of, it's work tomorrow, if you're excited for work tomorrow, then you're doing the right thing, I think.
What tips would you give somebody that's looking to make the leap?
Well, I think what you guys are doing is the perfect example, because you're taking something you love and that you're knowledgeable about and you're passionate about. You communicate it well to other people. You've got really good content in terms of what you're putting out on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I was years of Grillstock before we could earn any money from it. You know, the first few festivals lost money. But I think it's just, I think you've got a good consistency in what you guys are doing. You know, I think that's important. You've got a brand that people can buy into and follow and kind of feel loyal towards. And I think that's really, it's being there, you know, it's being there as the friendly face that people feel like you're next to them in their backyard when they're cooking. They can look to you guys as though you're there with them, rather than being this kind of, you know, far-flung YouTube channel from the States with a load of lingo they don't understand. You guys are kind of say it as it is and in words we all understand, I guess.
Cheers, John. Good solid advice there, and appreciate that. So back to the barbecue stuff. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. What's your ultimate barbecue meal cooked over fire?
We had a big family meal. My wife's family got together on the weekend, Thursday, Friday last week, and I cooked for about 20 of them in the garden. And it's not often everybody's together, so I wanted to cook something nice. So it was on a Weber kettle, wasn't on a big Santa Maria grill, but it was still big lumps of beef, Santa Maria seasoning, grilled hot and fast, like a big fat steak. So the outside gets that lovely crust and char, and you get that real oomph from the seasoning. And then I really like sides that are a bit fresher. So things like pinto beans and pico de gallo and nice fresh green salad or some grilled veg on the side of it. So nothing too heavy, really. Just nice kind of joints of beef in the first instance.
Now, John, talking about cooking for people, did you recently cook barbecue for Jack Whitehall and all his friends?
Yes. Yeah, that was a random one. It was the guys at the Barbecue Mag have done some work with him in the past, and he must have got in touch with them and said, well, actually, it was his brother. Jack was leaving for the States to go and promote his new film, and his brother wanted to do a little leaving do for Jack and a handful of their friends. So I got a call saying, would I be happy to go to London and cook in his garden? I was like, yeah, of course, absolutely. And then the day before I was due to go there were all the floods in London, and his house flooded. So we had to up sticks and move to his parents' house on the bank of the Thames. But their terrace and barbecues were 4 stories up. So I had to lug everything up 4 flights of stairs. And I got there, instead of being a big 4-burner Genesis Weber, it was a couple of little kind of camping style gas grills that hadn't been used for about a decade, I don't think. So I was cooking for about 18 people on 2 tiny little grills. But we got there, you know, it was good fun, and they enjoyed the food, and, you know, what an opportunity, right? I mean, it's not often you get to do cool stuff like that.
Oh, sounds absolutely amazing. Now, John, what advice would you give to anyone who's starting out on their barbecue journey? What tips would you give, and what kit would you advise them to get?
So I get asked this quite a lot, and have done over the years. My number one bit of kit to buy would be, well, 2 bits of kit to buy would be the classic Weber kettle grill, because genuinely, I think there's nothing you can't do on those things. They're not too big, they're easy to use. You can grill, you can roast, you can smoke, you can really kind of understand fire management. And a thermopen would be my second bit of kit, because if you don't know what's happening on your grill, you're never going to turn out good food, you know. And I know once you've cooked for a long time, you can tell the doneness of steaks and meat by poking it a little bit. But certainly, I still use a thermopen every time I cook, because I want to know exactly where it's at. And I just say start off simply, cook things that you enjoy eating. Don't go and buy an £80 brisket for your first time you're going to cook. You know, start off with some chickens or a nice piece of steak or a pork loin, or, you know, something that you're not going to blow it if it goes terribly wrong. And I think the other mistake a lot of guys make is they spend way too much time reading on the internet how to do things, rather than just getting that fire lit and getting out there and cooking, because that's the way you learn the best. You know, you can read till the cows come home, but get out there and light your barbecue and sling something on it and see what happens, really. The best bit of advice I got was from Dr. Barbecue years ago, and he said, if you really screw something up on the grill, cover it in teriyaki sauce and give it another 10 minutes.
So you also own a restaurant, don't you? You co-own the
Yeah.
Key Street Diner in Bristol.
Yes.
So what's your inspiration for creating a diner and what's on the menu?
You hear about companies having a pivot point where they set out to do one thing and then realise that's not what it should be, and they flip over and do something completely different. So the idea for Key Street Diner was to have a cool, relaxed, California-style vibe in the centre of Bristol. And it was all centred around this beautiful custom ox grill that we bought. So the whole kitchen really was this ox grill, and then a couple of fryers and bits and pieces. Tiny little plancha for burgers, just in case people wanted to order them. But the whole menu was kind of wood-fired or charcoal-fired. So we opened up and ran the kitchen into the ground, tied ourselves in knots, ended up buying loads of expensive ingredients, and everybody just came in and ordered burgers. Whatever we did, whatever we put on the menu, people just wanted burgers. So after about 4 or 5 months, with a very heavy heart, we sold our beautiful ox grill and put in a massive metre-wide plancha instead. So it's very much a classic diner, all-day dining. So we're open 9 in the morning till 11 o'clock. We do all the diner classics, burgers, dogs, but a lot of Mexican stuff. So we're doing tacos, burritos, some nice salads, brunches. It's just a cool, relaxed, easy place to go, really. It's all kind of wooden inside and nice and bright and chilled out. Yeah, it's a lovely little place.
You know, you're a busy man. You've got a book coming out. You've got the restaurant. You've got the festivals. You've got the barbecue classes. Any other plans for the future?
Well, I'm working a few things for Weber. So we've got a couple of projects for next year that I'm doing with those guys. But really, I'm enjoying the balance at the moment of having the restaurant a couple of days a week, being able to write for 1 or 2 days a week, and then go out and do kind of classes or out and about doing fun stuff as well. So, in terms of kind of the work-life balance, it feels quite good at the moment. So I'm not in a hurry to take anything else big on because there's quite a lot happening. But I think, it's just, as and when fun opportunities come up, I love to do it. So, who knows what will come in the next kind of 6 to 12 months. Fun
great
stuff.
To hear. No matter what it is, I'm sure you'll do great at it and you'll excel at it. So.
Thank you.
Jon, thanks for being a great guest, mate. You've been superb.
Pleasure. Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jon. Absolutely brilliant. A big thank you to Jon and Elky. What a barbecue legend Jon is.
Oh, he really is, yeah, and he's a great guy. He's always happy to pass on his knowledge. I mean, I'd love to get along to one of those classes he does at the Belmont Estate. They look great.
Those classes look superb. Now, thank you for continuing to send us your great, amazing barbecue pictures. So let's see what you've been up to in What's Cooking. Some brilliant photographs there. But Elky, which was your favourite?
I'm going to pick Jay Van's barbecue. He's done his leftover short rib birria tacos. It looks spot on. But there's loads of great photos sent in, loads of good ideas, some good inspiration for our viewers. So please keep sending them in.
There were some amazing photographs there. Now, that's about it for this show. A big thank you for watching the programme, and a special thank you to our programme sponsors, Kamado Joe, and our feature sponsors, Thermapen, Barbecue Barn, and Philip Warren Butchers.
Yeah, and as always, guys, a huge thanks from me. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you again soon.